Welcome to the MMA Roadshow, episode number 256. My name is John Morgan. Cold coffee is with me on a beautiful Thursday afternoon here in Las Vegas. The sun is shining in the cloudless sky over the expansive grounds of the Casa de Cold Coffee.
So expansive.
I'm amazed. The help has done a good job keeping up with the grounds as you've been recovering from your surgery here, man.
I don't know how I would do it without them. I don't know how.
It's a solid staff, man. They've been here to help you out and assist you in your time of need. You got to rely on good help like that. By the way, I should say, improving from the surgery a little bit, but from the week that I last saw you, your mobility's improved a little bit. Your faculty seem a little bit fresher.
Yes. It sleep helps.
Okay, all right, that does help.
It's one of those things that I think when you actually can sleep and your body can heal. So I've been sleep hasn't been perfect, but it's been a lot better. But yeah, I'm moving a lot better. Still. To coin a McGregor phrase, I still have stiffness. There's still stiffness in me.
I see stiffness.
But not as much aching and pains. Like it's getting better. So, and I showed you the pic of the nice 5.5 inch.
The wound is healing up a little bit.
Almost like 6 inches. It's fucking large, but it is healing up.
By the way, we really need to trim that audio out for future use.
Yeah, my 6-inch gash is. But no, yeah, I'm feeling much better. I still feel at times I'm kind of still sort of hunched over or whatever, but the mobility is much better. That day of going to the radio station this past Monday, luckily enough for us, that happened to be the day there was a huge volleyball convention, so we had to park at the end of the parking garage. So that was like the longest I had walked, and going over there. And then coming back, I was like, oh, yeah, no problem. Later on that day, holy hell, I was sore as all get out. I was like, cause by the time it was time to make dinner, I was like, I just wanted to, like, lay down and just curl and ball and just be done with it. But it's getting better. Every day is getting better. And I was telling you earlier, some of the issues that I was having when it was having before I had the surgery was even just feeling in my legs. And I had a moment earlier today where I was just like, I was thinking about, I can take a shower now and I could feel like warm water on my legs again.
That's crazy. I had no idea. Your legs you were walking around life with your legs literally numb.
Yeah, like numb. My feet were real bad. Like, so I would take a shower and
you would
I
tell
couldn't
me that
tell.
Sometimes. I just thought you meant like your legs.
And it wasn't like I was harping on it.
No, but you would tell me sometimes. I just thought you meant like your legs would fall asleep while you were sitting down, and I'm like, bro, like, come on, man. Like, we probably could all improve our circulation a little bit.
Yeah, you should probably get up and move.
Yeah, I mean, we sit down all day at our desk. That's what when you would tell me that, I thought that's what you meant, and I was like, bro, toughen up a little bit, man. Like, get up and walk around the room a little bit. I didn't realize you meant you literally had no feeling in your legs. Like I could just take a switch and just slap you with it, and there'd be no feeling there.
And that was the part that I knew something was really, because I would try to explain that to the doctor. I was like, I'm literally can slap my legs and I'm not feeling it like I should. And they're like, oh, it could be this. I was like, I literally can't feel like warm water when it was like in the shower. It was like so weird. But I have that back now, and even laying in my bed last night, I always sleep with like a fan on.
Right.
There was a point where I was getting like cold, like my legs, and I was just like, and it was like a wonderful like moment. So like
a tear of joy, just
dude, it pretty much was. Like when I was talking about it,
laid in bed crying.
Abby, I was like, this is tears of joy. I can feel cold in my legs. So yeah, man, it's been good. It's slow but sure. I mean, as part of me definitely wants to like kind of like, all right, let's get back on the road. I realize that I have to play smart because I don't want to re-injure or whatever. But it's been wonderful. The little simple things that you take for granted, like I said, like just being able to feel your fucking legs. It's been really good.
A needy guy.
I know, man. How dare you want to feel your legs and shit? But no, it's been good, man.
I guess the target date right now for you to kind of be back in full or somewhat full action is the Columbus show in late March, right? I mean, that's home for you, so you'd like to be able to make it out there.
Yeah, I'm hoping I can get out there. So that's kind of what I've been pushing towards, is to be able to get back on the road for that. I know we have the Vegas event, and I'll be more than happy to just stay and be the remote editor. And I'm looking forward to actually, because I know a lot of the guys we've experienced hundreds of these events here in Vegas, so it'd be kind of fun for some of the other guys that never get a shot to like see what events like
Yeah,
here in
kind of cool
Vegas.
for people that don't know, and which obviously most people
Yeah.
listening won't know, but we've got an MMA junkie kind of team meeting. So
Yeah.
basically, all of our staff that's based in North America
Yeah.
is going to be here for UFC, what is that, 248 that's coming up
248.
here in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So everybody will be here. Now, they won't all stay for fight week, but they'll be here for a couple days. We're going to have some meetings and stuff at the beginning of the week. But then, as you said, I think it's going to be Mike Bond, Nolan King, and Danny Segura will help me out at UFC 248. So that'll be our crew for that week, and you'll be here, but you're just going to work from home. That way you don't have to carry your gear. You're still not quite back to 100% yet. So that way you don't have to carry your stuff. And everything.
They're still kind of told me I really can't lift much more than a gallon of water, a gallon of milk is what they've kind of said. Which they're like 5 to 8 pounds, which is like a gallon of water, which. That's not a lot of weight, like, and you're always like, oh man, it's no problem. I can do this. But, sometimes like I have a little TV tray here next to me, and when you put your food on it and then you put your bottle of water or whatever, and you start to lift it, and then when you start feeling that tug, I was like, uh-oh, I think I'm at that threshold, and you don't even think about it, but then when you start feeling, I'm like, okay, slow down, because I want to, like the amount of gear that we carry.
Both of our backpacks is probably like, I think like 60, 70 pounds.
Probably when it's fully loaded down.
Because I've weighed it before. I've been to airports where they make me weigh it, and they try to take it from me, and I'm like, do not take this from me. Like, this is my life right here. My computer, all my cameras, my lenses.
Yeah.
But we're carrying about 60 or 70 pounds on our back.
So I kind of have to watch it, and I don't want to rush it. And that's still, 2 weeks out. So I'd be rushing it a little bit too. But the nice thing about Columbus is that's another couple weeks on top of that. So that's a whole month from this point to kind of recover, strengthen, and feel how it's good. Because part of the stuff that they put in my back, the hardware has to sit. It has to really.
You got titanium rod and screws.
Yeah, and so the bone has to kind of sort of grow around it or do whatever. And I don't know how quick that shit happens. I mean, it's funny. I love it. Abby's like, "Oh, Wolverine." He calls me Wolverine now because he says I'm recovering really well, but. I wish I had the superpower to heal up.
I think the beard probably has something to do with it, too.
Maybe the beard. The beard is strong, y'all. The beard is strong. It's nice when you don't even think about it anymore. Literally, when your day becomes, you wake up and you're gauging your pain level. Like, okay, let me just try to set up. Let me do whatever. The last thing you think about is like, how the fuck do I look? Should I trim this? Should I do whatever? I'm like, I don't even care. And somewhere in that process, the beard has gotten much stronger.
It is massive, man.
It's fucking thick.
Oh,
I like it.
All right, man. Well, Cold Coffee is coming along well. Next couple of weeks, we hope he'll be back to full strength, but he's definitely in a better place than he was last week. I say by the time we got done recording last week, I could see the wear and tear on you, man, just from kind of sitting up and focusing. So it's good to see you this way. All right, let's talk some MMA. Really, honestly, there's no place you can start other than Diego Sanchez right now. I mean, you know what's funny is I wanted to kind of review the Diego Sanchez situation and where we were, and then I ended up publishing a story. I had touched on this a little bit last week. I think in the and a half show afterwards, but I had been told that Joshua Fabia had tried to teach Diego Sanchez this like dim mock death touch type stuff, and I mentioned that I'd heard something about it, and I was a little concerned about that. And I'll say it again for anybody that didn't listen to it. I mean, this whole issue about Joshua Fabia being the trainer, being the manager, being the lone cornerman, I have no issue with the guy being in Diego Sanchez's life. I mean, we know Diego is kind of a different cat, right? And he's the kind of guy that probably wants, a spiritual advisor or, somebody like that. I mean, a unique personality like Joshua Fabia in some kind of guidance role. And I get that. I'm okay with that. But as I mentioned, I'd heard some rumblings of that, kind of dim mock death touch type training or whatever. And since I recorded that and a half episode, I had some people reach out to me who were eyewitnesses to this, basically, who knew that I was aware of it and wanted to give me a little bit of further information. And I ended up publishing a story on it. If by chance you haven't read it yet, it is published at MMA Junkie. The headline is Joshua Fabia warned NAC prior to UFC 239 that Diego Sanchez might kill Michael Chiesa. And if for whatever reason you haven't read it, I'll give the brief summary. Basically, in the hours before the fight at UFC 239 this past July, uh, you know, Diego Sanchez was getting his hands wrapped, was in the locker room. The commission got a little bit upset with him because Fabio was burning some incense. An inspector also noticed that he took a Q-tip and shoved it up Diego Sanchez's nose. I was told, actually, by the way, he shoved it way up there, and it had been dipped in some type of substance. They determined it to be a peppermint extract, which they determined was okay. But, of course, the idea was to open the airways. And, I guess it's a holistic thing, but I heard it was kind of weird looking, like it went way up his nose, like into his sinuses. So that was their first concern, and they said, dude, you got to stop this. Like, this is not what you do. And it's a shared locker room, so, these other fighters getting ready, they don't want to have this incense burning and stuff in here. You can't do this. So they tell him that he can't do it. And he says, all right. And he says, well, listen, while you guys are here, I got some other stuff to talk to you about. Listen, I have trained Diego Sanchez in this move that is so dangerous. It's a chokehold, and it's so dangerous. I learned it when I was working with South American paramilitary. You've got to stop the fight immediately, whether Chiesa taps or not, because it's going to potentially kill him or at least paralyze him. And you got to be careful about this. And the NSAC asked, hey, show us the move. Can you show it to us? And he demonstrated it. And it was described to me, and it's been described to me by multiple people. But basically, it was grab the neck and the chin like in a standing guillotine choke, and then rotate the torso so that the head is braced on the shoulder, and then slam to the canvas to break the neck over the shoulder. And then it was said in a little more descriptive, like if you can't picture it, it's like the wrestling move, the Stone Cold Stunner. And I'm like, oh my God,
So did you have to look up what a Stone Cold Stunner was?
I did. I know, but I kind of had an idea, but I kind of wasn't sure, but I got it. So I did look up Stone Cold Stunner, but I thought it was funny that it was described that way. Anyway, so the commission was concerned. They went to the UFC and they said, listen, man, this guy's saying he's teaching his guy to kill his opponent, and what's up with that? And UFC and the Nevada Commission came together and said, listen, the combined years of experience that we all have in martial arts, what are the odds that this guy knows and has taught so well a move that none of us have ever even seen or heard of outside of professional wrestling that could potentially be deadly? And so they allowed the bout to continue, and of course, Michael Chiesa won the fight. The commission did, by the way, go talk to Diego and his team and talk to Fabio and said, listen, man, this is a sporting contest, not a death match. This is about sportsmanship and about yes, it's a violent sport, but at the same time, come on, man, we're not trying to kill anybody here. So I was able to publish that story because I had multiple sources on it, and I felt it was kind of important for people to hear about, to be honest with you. And I am this to me just further cements my position. And again, I do not want to attack Joshua Fabio, which he's done multiple interviews. He's done a long interview with Luke Thomas. He's done a long interview with Ariel Helwani. He actually spoke on the phone to Mike Bond, I think, for the better part of 90 minutes, as I understand. I don't think Mike ended up publishing anything. He ended up just publishing the comments that Diego shared with him that day. Honestly, because a lot of what Joshua was saying, he mentioned to Mike Bond that Diego hadn't been paid his win bonus, which I reached out to the UFC and found that was categorically untrue, that he had absolutely been paid his win bonus. He'd been paid everything that was coming to him. So, at that point, Mike said, I don't know what this guy is saying, what's truth, what's fiction, what's not. And this was before we had, all this confirmation of everything on record. And to me, it just further cements my position, man. This guy does not need to be the head trainer of Diego Sanchez, and he does not need to be the lone cornerman for Diego Sanchez. If he's in his life for whatever reason through some kind of spiritual guidance or self-betterment, fine, so be it. But I really honestly, and it sucks because I feel like Diego thinks people are attacking him, and I think that all this attention and discussion that's being had about Fabio and his role in Diego's life, I think Diego, at least from what I'm seeing on social media anyway, is taking a defensive stance that people are attacking him, and I wish he would
Attacking
say
Joshua, not
I
Diego.
think he feels. I think maybe Diego feels personally attacked too, and
I can see that to a degree.
yeah, maybe like some
a-
shared defense or whatever.
Yeah.
And I hope he can see the reason people are there because people do care about Diego. People like Diego, and I am afraid that Diego, who is a legend of the sport, is going to have his career, the tail end of his career, cut short, ruined by this gentleman handling his strategies and fight preparation and all that. I just don't understand how this guy can be qualified. And if he's teaching death touch, maneuvers, say what you will about all the sorcery that he speaks of. I mean, the guy speaks very, differently, okay? I mean, I get it. Now, if you want to say, man, feels like he's I heard a lot of people say snake oil salesman, and there is a lot of that, confounding type discussion of, what you see is not what you see, and where you are is not what you think, and you know what I mean? And the world is a wheel, and these are the spokes, and I don't know, man, he just says weird shit. But throw all that out the window. Now we have practical evidence of him as a trainer trying to teach Diego a fatal maneuver. Okay, that's the first problem.
Yeah.
The second problem is, if you were to do that, if you were to train your fighter in such a maneuver, if it did exist, why would you then go to the commission and explain to them that your fighter is out with the intent to kill the guy? The fight almost got canceled. He almost cost Diego Sanchez a major paycheck. So if this guy's got Diego's best interest at heart, what? I mean, the training is ridiculous. The idea that there's some chokehold that nobody has seen before that will kill a man as soon as you execute it, and oh, by the way, it looks like the Stone Cold Stunner of all things. But then on top of that, you go to the commission. You nearly cost this fight, man. You will nearly cost Diego Sanchez a paycheck. So I don't know, man. I don't want to go too bad. I don't want to go too much on the guy because I don't know him personally, and I'm not trying to pretend like I know everything about this man, and he may be doing wonders for Diego Sanchez as a human being. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He may be helping him psychologically, emotionally, better himself in life. We know that Diego's gone through a divorce. We know he's lost his gym at Jackson Wink and in relationships there. And we know that, Diego's a unique human being that needs a certain kind of nurturing and a certain kind of attention. And Joshua Fabia may be handling all of that on a level that we can't even understand. Even hell, financially, he may be setting him up with businesses and plans for later in life. But as a fight instructor, as a mixed martial arts coach, he ain't getting the job done. And I just hope Diego can see that.
Well, and that's the thing. I guess at this point, when you talk about, you don't want to see the end of Diego's career to end on a bad note because of some of the advice that he's getting. I already feel like we're already sort of on borrowed time when it comes to Diego and his career. His first professional fight, if we go by what Tapology has, was June 21st, 2002.
Yes.
That's a long time to be in this fight game. So, he's already outlasted most of the other fighters, if not every other fighter that's been doing this sort of thing. So, already I feel like anything that we're getting out of him, we're already getting something more than we probably deserve. I get the idea of if Diego is at a point in his career where this person means something to him, because we see people in corners all the time that just don't seem at first that they should be there. We've seen fighters put their wives, we've seen put their girlfriends in their corner. I've seen other managers in corners as well.
Yes.
But the fact that this is the only particular person that's perhaps in there calling the shots, I could see where some people maybe take issue with that.
Yeah, it's not 1 out of 3
Yeah.
or 1 out of 4 at a championship bout. It's
the
one of
guy.
one. Yeah.
But I can see where if, who am I to tell a fighter that if you're going to get in there and you're going to be doing one of these crazy situations where, just to use a term for better or worse, a life or death situation, even though we know these are not death situations, there still could be life or death ramifications for if something goes wrong out there. And if this is the person that he feels means something to him, that he wants to have him in his corner, I get that. And really, I mean, after this many fights, what really is what somebody's going to say that Diego hasn't seen out there, that he hasn't heard? It's not like he's a brand new fighter that's going out there and needs to hear it, but it is nice when a fighter is reminded of when they're in the corner and they look up and they're like, what do I need to do to get out of this position, to get those technical things said to them. So I can see where there could be some lenience in the fact that, this isn't Diego's first rodeo. Right. So do we need the most well-seasoned corner in his corner to have him be able to get through a fight? Probably not. And if this person is somebody where he feels comfortable, where Diego, at this point in his life, feels like I'd rather have a life guru in my corner than somebody that's going to be telling me stuff I ultimately already know. And maybe he got to a point where he's like, I don't need the technical stuff because the technical stuff wasn't working either. Maybe what I need is this, So I'm not going to fault him. I could see where a lot of people might be like, that's just stupid.
Well, but here's the thing is, and I want to, because I accept what you're saying, and I had that thought too, right? At this point in Diego Sanchez's career, it's not like he's going to hear anything he hasn't before.
Already heard.
It's not like he's going to, get some kind of new technique he's not aware of, in between rounds or whatever. Like you said, here's some. But what he can get is, that person on the outside has a better view sometimes of what's going on, and they're not involved in it. You know what I'm saying? So they can be from the outside looking in. And I think they can say, hey, listen, when you're moving your head left, he's reacting this way, or when you give this fake, he's reacting that way. So I kind of had the same. I kind of wanted to give the same pass that I don't want to say you're giving a pass right now, but I kind of had that same idea.
Kind of giving him a pass, but I'm also, I get it on both ways, but because I think sometimes everybody knows what their fighter needs to hear to get them motivated at that particular point. And if he thinks that what he's saying at that time is what Diego needs to get motivated, I could see if their relationship and that's what Diego is signing off on. I can't fault him for it because you're right. I mean, you want the fighter to get the best advice going into it. But, I mean, again, this is the guy that has – I could try to count up all these endless number of fights that he has. And if it wasn't – it's not like he was in the middle of a massive amount of win streaks when he decided, like, this is the guy I'm going to bring in.
Right.
And he had incredible coaches in his corners. I think at this point, he's just trying to end his career at a place in his mind that he's happy with and that he's at peace with. And I feel like he is. I don't know. What got me in that last fight was the whole peacocking, weird, like sort of breathing, stretching thing that happened in the fight. That's what I wanted to know was, like, what was he being told or what was he visualizing in his head at that point? And was that something he was coached?
You're right. And then, so
like that threw me
that
off.
brings me to another point. That I had even forgotten that I wanted to make. So I'm glad you said that. Now, he comes up, and it was on Diego's Instagram, but it was clearly not Diego because it talked about Diego in third person, number one. So whoever made the video, basically showed, oh, look, here's defense here, and then, showed the whole fight and how he was blocking. And it kept pointing out how great his defense was. And he mentioned that in some of the interviews. Why aren't people saying Diego's defense is like Mayweather? Okay, cool. Well, first of all, Diego's defense is not like Mayweather, but I will give you that you're right. He didn't take a ton of damage. I will agree with that. He did not take a ton of damage, but what offense did he have? This game is about offense. Yes, you need to try to avoid getting hit, but you can't. You've got to have offense as well. So that was part of it. But the other thing too was that video started out with, which I'm assuming Fabia had something to do with it, mentioning that it was wrong of Daniel Cormier to point out the breathing that Diego was doing because he's broken his nose several times and it's difficult to breathe through his nose. Bro, that was not natural breathing through the mouth. Yeah. He was doing, like, the peacocking, okay, Diego's just kind of Diego. Diego's Diego, right? You know what I mean? The peacocking, that's Diego. But that breathing that he was doing.
The lip puffing out sort of.
Yeah, that was not, oh, my guy just has problems breathing through his nose. That was probably some, see, I hate to just assume stuff, but I'm assuming that was some dumbass technique that he was taught that would help center his chi or something.
Yeah, I was imagining some Tibetan shit, like, up on top of a mountain, or
I hate to just assume, but so, yeah, man, so That makes me, I mean, that was obviously off, and the guy's going, why are you guys saying this? Why are you attacking him? It's not fair. That's rude of you. He just can't breathe through his nose. Like, no, man.
If that's what it was, then all right, fine. If that's your answer,
Come
that's what
on.
it is. But to me, it seemed to me that Diego was visualizing. He was in a moment of visualizing something. He was channeling something. He was whatever in his head. His eyes were very focused. He was moving. His body structure, his posture was definitely. He was visualizing something in his head.
Yes.
So it wasn't just a matter of like, hey, I'm just trying to breathe weirdly out of my mouth because my nose, whatever. There was something else going on there. And if this particular coach didn't know that, either didn't feel comfortable explaining what was really going on, or he didn't really know, and then it could have just been Diegoing. You know, at that particular point, which might not be anything to attribute to. I mean, I could see where he definitely came out and his head was in a particular place, you know, which is what I think every fighter going into a fight, their head goes into a particular place that you need to go to where you know you're going to be challenging yourself against another person that's bringing their best skills against you. If that's where Diego's mind goes now before a fight, I guess to each their own. It just seemed very off in front of that fight because it was something that I don't remember ever seeing from Diego before. So we just assume, oh, okay, this must be a new trick in the bag. This is a new something that they worked on or whatever. And it was just a little jarring, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to jump on the guy, but it's been interesting hearing a lot of the people really focusing on it. So I guess, if anything, I'll just stick with the fact that if Diego's happy with where he's at in his life, that having this guy in the corner is more for him as a person just being in his corner than maybe given the technical knowledge that we expect that somebody's going to hear. To each his own. I'm not gonna fault him. I get it that if we wanted to,
as part of a corner,
yeah,
not as the only guy in the corner.
But some people just fucking push people away when they're at a particular point in their life, and Diego's at this point now where he's very staunch in his beliefs and he's very set in his ways, and I can see where it can be very. I mean, the fact that a guy that was so tight with Jackson Wink and like that was his family to switch and turn and almost just become completely 180. You could tell something happened, and I just wonder if right now, in where his mind is, if he didn't push a lot of the other people away, where maybe there aren't that many people clamoring to jump in that corner,
right?
Or they're maybe not in the same mindset to where he wants them to be.
That's fair.
To be in that corner.
It's very possible.
You know, so it is what it is. I mean, but Diego still is in great shape. I mean,
and that's why I don't want to see his career get cut short. I think he's still got some fights left in him.
He still does have fights in him, and I don't think this guy is gonna to make that end. I mean, I think
if he keeps getting him beat.
Well, that'll be just Diego get to a point where he's like, I can't take this anymore, or the UFC's gonna be like, okay, your performances are getting worse and worse. But I mean, he was able to. I mean, the thing with that particular fight, he had such, and this is the part that I think a lot of people were faulting his coach, is that he was fighting an opponent that was so oversized and so much of a longer reach, and he wasn't getting the tips to get into on the inside, you know. But then you saw that sort of front roll kick to start, and that could have been one of their attempts.
I was okay with that.
You know,
I was okay with the rolling thunder to start because you know you're fighting a crazy guy.
Right.
Do something crazy.
And
surprise him a little bit.
Made contact.
Yeah,
so,
I'm okay with that. I was okay with that. But then when he sets up and he's framing with his hand and he's switching back and forth, like, hold on, the idea against this massive, creative striker was to set up on the outside and try to stay at range.
That kicking length.
What?
He was at kicking distance.
The idea wasn't like, and I understood even for one round. Had it been for one round where we're like, look, we know this dude tires himself out. He does backflips. He jumps off the cage. So let's do this. Let's walk him around for a round. Let's make sure we keep our hands up. Let's make sure we stay defensive. But let's let this dude show off, backflip, cartwheel, do whatever, because we know he's going to get tired. We've seen it happen. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But now in round two, now we got to turn to our wrestling. Now we got to get inside. We got to clinch. You know, we got to make him. That never happened.
Yeah.
That never happened.
I was surprised Diego never got warned with his fingers, and I wonder if that would have thrown off the whole game if the ref was just like, Diego, you got to close your hands, because the whole time it was just fingers up or whatever, and I wonder if that would have just thrown off the whole game.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, it was interesting, and I was a little surprised at how much he did sort of like jump out and thought that we were sort of attacking him and some of the other stuff, because it didn't seem to me like the stuff that you guys had put out um,
Oh, look at you
was
distancing from the team you guys put out.
well.
No, I'm just
I mean,
kidding.
writers, you writers
I'm
put
messing
out,
with
you know, you people, your types. But I just thought it was interesting that how he did that, and that just showed me that his connection with this guy, and that he's taking it very personal, because this is like probably in his world right now is the closest person to him, and that's why I think he's comfortable having this guy be in his corner.
And that's why I
And
think
so
he's taking
and that's why
defensively
he's
as well.
taking it personally, that every all these sort of things that are going.
Well, I hope he can
towards
realize
him.
that, honestly, I think for most people, the criticisms are honestly out of a place of respect
Yeah.
and care for Diego Sanchez
Right.
and wanting to see him get the best, because he is an MMA legend.
Yeah.
And I only want to see the best from him. All right. I had a chance to I should say this. After I wrote that, then you have some questions. Like, I actually asked some of the people I talked to, like, was Michael Chiesa informed that night? And I was told no, Michael Chiesa was not informed of
I can
this.
see where the commissioner was like, okay, this is serious, but kind of a joke.
Yeah,
There's no
well,
reason to bring it up to anybody else.
And I honestly thought too, if I was the commission, I probably wouldn't tell the guy either, because you're not really sure, and you've decided you're going to let the fight continue.
Yeah.
So as a guy is preparing, would you want to go up to him and tell him, "Hey, man, just to let you know, like, this guy has a move that he says could paralyze you or kill you." So
Yeah.
we'll
that's like every
we'll keep
martial
an
arts
eye
movie you
on
think
it.
about. Remember, like the palm thrust into a nose,
Right.
or if somebody said,
Sends
"Hey,"
the-
or
up
if
to the
somebody said,
brain.
"Yeah, up to the brain," or if somebody said, "If somebody just straight front kicks you in your fucking face, you could die from it." That could probably happen. We see that shit all the fucking time,
Yeah.
So like, I get it to where they're probably just like, I get where they were at some point. They're like, dude, half this stuff that these people know could probably, if you spin it a certain way,
Right.
could say like, you could die from this. If I throat punch somebody, they could die from this. But
Well, so those were some of the questions I had. So, fortunately, the story went up very early this morning on the West Coast, but I guess Michael Chiesa is an early riser, because he tweeted right away.
he's a junkie viewer. He's a junkie reader.
He is. So I texted him, and I said, "Man, do you have a few minutes so we can talk about this? I got some questions I want to answer." And he said, "Absolutely, give me a call." And I had a chance to speak with him, and this was his explanation of everything that happened on that night and his feelings since. Mike, you there?
Yeah, it's me.
Well, good, man. Well, you got a few minutes now?
Yep.
Awesome, man. Well, let's talk about this crazy situation, man. I'm sure you've read the story by now, or at least been alerted to it. I guess I wanted to go back to that night. I mean, were you aware that, like, any of this was going on behind the scenes?
No, I mean, I don't really know. Are you talking about what was going on with my fight or with his with Rio Rancho?
Yeah, no, with your fight, with the.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, I caught wind of it. I can't say who I caught wind of it from. Or no, let me rewind. So we're in the back, and the antics are already going on through fight week. So I'm already assuming things are going to be a little weird on fight night, but not this bad. And it kind of started when Don House came and wrapped my hands, and he was just kind of laughing. You know what I mean? He's just like, man, he's being a wild man back there, like, it's just like not really giving me details, but just kind of like I'm already catching wind that things are kind of weird in their locker room. And then the person that I'm not going to name came to me and was like, hey, I got to tell you, like, there's this talks and his crazy submission he wants to try on you. And they kind of like, I got a demonstration of what it was. And I mean, I immediately started laughing. I'm like, if you think for a second that you're going to like reverse Stone Cold Stunner me in a high level mixed martial arts contest, you're off your fucking rocker. Pardon my language. But yeah, I mean, I knew what the move was. It was like if he had my chin and his chest was on the back of my head, kind of like a guy would go for a guillotine. And it was like he was going to rotate and start to turn his back to me while still holding my chin, basically putting the back of my neck on his shoulder and he's going to drop down. And I'm like, we started laughing. We're like, this is so funny. Like, me on fight night, I'm always assuming like I'm in for a tough match. It doesn't matter who it is. But at that point, when they said this is what his plan is basically. Like, this is the submission they're asking, trying to find out if it's legal and making all this hype about it. I'm like, I'm going to take you down. That's not it. You know what I mean? Like, that's just not happening. So,
Right.
Yeah, it was, at no point was I ever like, oh my God, we were just like, we started laughing about it. Like, this is crazy. And then I'm hearing about, this is the same time I'm hearing about the burning of the sage and all the incense and stuff. And it's like, buddy, like, it's like you're prepping to go to a yoga class or something. Like, I'm about to fucking beat you up, and you're trying to figure out how to do these fruitcake moves, and you're sticking tea tree oil up your nose or whatever the hell it was. Like, I knew all this stuff was happening, and it was just funny to us. I think that for them, I think the shock came from the commission because they're making a big deal about it, so that everybody's kind of like, what the hell? You know what I mean?
Right.
But no, never at any point did I feel like I was about to be in any type of, there's no other immediate danger that can go beyond getting in a mixed martial arts fight. So, I mean, this guy's just nuts.
Yeah.
I haven't watched any of the other stuff, so.
Yeah, no, that's what I was really asking about was just your bout. I mean, I didn't know if you had been told about it or maybe if they kept it under wraps. Because, I mean, I would think that would be kind of weird. I mean, like you just said, you're already going to get in a cage fight. But for somebody to come to you and say, oh, by the way, this guy might try to kill you or paralyze you tonight, man, I would think that might kind of mess with your mind a little bit.
No, not at all. No. I mean, look, dude, maybe if I was fighting, Stipe Miocic, then it's like, holy shit, this dude's a monster, and he could probably grab me by the head and spin me around and do something like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Then there's a threat, but it's like, come on, dude. If that type of stuff was to get in your head, then you're weak-minded. You know what I mean? You already got to go in there with the mentality that there's potential you could get severely hurt.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm the type of guy where going into a fight, I'm always thinking the worst possible thing is going to happen to me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm confident I'm going to win, but I'm always thinking, like, I'm going to get my face smashed. I'm going to have all these crazy things happen. Like, I know the risks are there. So, there's nothing you can say to me to shake me. So for them, like I said, this guy was just like overhearing as it's happening, kind of eavesdropping and showing me what was shown and this and that. And it's like, it became laughable, dude. I mean, 100%.
Did it bother you at all, though? Did it bother you, though? I mean, obviously, you guys all realize the inherent danger that's in the sport, but to hear that somebody might be willing to try to kill you, I mean, did that upset you or bother you or make you think different of Diego?
No. He's just crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Here's the thing about Diego is, look, man, like, you gotta, like, at some point you have to accept the fact that you are older and you are always going to be in some type of doubt, and that's just the nature of the sport. Nobody's out to get you. That's just what it is. You know what I mean? It's whatever. So whatever he's got to do to pump himself on fight night, that's fine. You know what I mean? But I don't feel – I'll tell you the only pressure I felt or the only thing that I was indifferent about was I was paranoid about him – possibly beating me in no way that involved that, but just I didn't want this Josh Fabia guy to have a win over me on his resume at all. That was the only thing I kept thinking about through fight week. So this was before all the fruitcake, WWE moves were coming out. You know what I mean? But through that fight week, with all the weird stuff they were doing, I was like, God forbid this. It's not even like God forbid Diego Sanchez beats me. It's like God forbid this Fabian guy gets a win over me. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I'm not trying to disrespect him. He has a particular thing he does well, but I really wish I could see Diego with like a boxing coach and just a couple other guys. You know what I mean? I don't have any ill will towards any of the stuff that he presumably thought he was going to do to me that night. You know what I mean? He's got to do whatever he's got to do to pump him up at this age and whatever stage in his career he's at, and whatever he believes in is going to give him confidence to go into the fight. That's fine. We've always been cordial in passing. You know what I mean? But, I mean, this is the fight game, and there's a lot of really messed up things you can do to somebody in a fight that are actually legal. So for them to say, oh, well, he's talking about doing this crazy move, well, it's like, well, he's talking about basically giving up his back to me, and I'm cool with that. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, what? I didn't, maybe if I didn't have confidence in maybe that particular skill set of mine, you know what I mean? Like, maybe if I didn't have a good grappling skill set, then I'd be like, what? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, oh my God, I can't believe this. But it's like, dude, I'd like to think I'm one of the best grapplers in the UFC, especially at welterweight. And, you know, there's no way in hell that we were sweating that shit in a second, John. It was laughable.
I dig it. Well, what's going on with you, man? You got you're doing commentating now, looking good, man. Or you got a fight lined up? What's the plans for you? This Jeff Neal keeps calling your name.
Yeah, I keep hearing about Jeff, and that's fine. You know what I mean? But here's the thing, man. Like, I'm looking. I respect the skills. The dude is tough as shit. He's on a tear. I saw him fight his first fight at the Contender Series, and I was like, that dude is. You can fast track him. He's top 10 talent. You know what I mean? So real recognize real. That doesn't mean I don't think I can't beat him up. But I'm just, you know, for me, I put my time in the sport. I've been in the UFC it'll be 8 years this March. And you know what I mean? I'm not asking for a title fight or something, but I've earned my spot. You know, RDA asked for the fight with me to get me in the position I'm in now. You know, that's not my fault. He asked for it. I took it. Who wouldn't? You know what I mean? But now it's like 8 years in the sport. I'm back in the mix. I'm only really looking ahead of me. You know, God, I don't want to fight Wonder Boy. I fucking like him, but he's ahead of me. So if they're offered that, okay. You know, my sights are still set on Colby. You know, who knows what he's going to do. You know, there's the Maya Burns, whoever wins out of that. You know, I'm looking up there, and it's because I reserve the right to. You know what I mean? So, you know, I'd like to think July sounds good, but they keep talking about this UFC Seattle show, and I'd like to find out the date on that because it'd be cool to fight in my home state,
Yeah.
and you know, and especially when there's a good chance to get a main event spot. But outside of that, man, I'm really not too focused on picking my next fight. I'm taking the kids to the state tournament this weekend for wrestling. I'm still coaching right now. Just doing my commentating. I got another analyst gig in for the Portland show, so I'll do this Bisping. I can get a rematch again. I'll get a rematch with Bisping in Portland, but in my backyard, so he's smoked. But and then I'll actually also I'll be doing the analyst work in Portland, and then I got another commentating gig in Abu Dhabi for UAE Warriors. So I'm still trying to broaden my skill set everywhere. You know what I mean? And you know, maybe one of these days we can get behind the best, John. I'm like, come on, see, throw me in there at least one time. Let me get in there next year, and we can work our magic again.
I love it, man. I got to talk to them. They're thinking about traveling outside the East Coast this year, so if we get some West Coast shows, I'm gonna holler at them and see what we can do.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about, John. We got to get back together, and make the magic happen. I'm a little more experienced now. You're a little more natural at it. You're like, you know, you handle stuff on camera and get interviews. You got a good voice. I'm feeling a little more confident than I was then, so I think we could do pretty good.
That was good, man. I had a good time. I'd love to do it again, bro.
Heck yeah.
All right, brother. I appreciate it, man. I'll talk to you soon, bro. So there you go. It turns out that Michael Chiesa did know on the night of the fight what was possible, but just basically started cracking up and laughing about it. So probably what you'd expect out of Mike Chiesa. But I thought he made a great point there because, you know, and it kind of leans into what you were saying earlier before the piece there is that, yeah, when you step into a cage with another human being, like they're trying to hurt you really bad. Like, you know, it's, you know, okay, you know, maybe not they're pushing for death, but you know that's, you know, serious consequences are possible going in there. But I don't know, man. I like Michael Chiesa's attitude about the whole thing, and even he said, listen, I mean, I would just like to see, you know, Diego have somebody else in his corner, man. You know, like I no disrespect to this Fabia guy, but I want to see other people in Diego's corner. So I think even he feels the same way. All right, listen, should say, if you like what you're listening to, and how could you not? I mean, it's just high-level mixed martial arts discussion from
and lots
two
of medical
great guys.
Recovery talk.
Yeah, exactly, man. Over a couple of frosty beverages, some award-winning PBR this afternoon. If you're doing that, then what you should do is you should make sure that wherever you get your podcast, especially on Apple Music, because that's where I take a look, that you're subscribed to it, and if you leave some a review, that helps. If you can give us 5 stars or whatever it is, wherever you're getting your podcast, we certainly would appreciate a great review. And if you could leave feedback, that would be great.
I like how you burped before
I
you
did.
ran
Sorry
into
about
the-
that. I didn't want me to come out. Can we edit that out? No.
No.
Probably not. All right. Like Pat Gilmartin. Pat, can you leave feedback about how great this show is? Great. Which rolls in exactly. Pat Gilmartin was kind enough to say, 2 pros. Now, he might want to take that headline back now. 1 pro and a guy that just burped into the microphone.
Belched right onto your ears.
It says, thank you for the years of podcasts. Every week without fail. And that is right, 256 consecutive weeks. Always a great primer for upcoming
50
fights.
years.
It's great math there. I see the painkillers are still doing good work for you. Always a great primer for upcoming fights and great recaps on the and a half episodes. Thanks again. And I appreciate that. And that leads into something, by the way. So if you're a fan and you love the show and you want to like take it to the next level, or you just happen to really love the and a half episodes that we don't always get to, that's changing, my friends, because I am now guaranteeing an and a half episode every single week that there's a major event, which is damn near every single week.
Which is all the time. But where can people find me?
Well, that's the thing. You have to go to a different place. You have to go to patreon.com/the MMA Roadshow. If you go there, you can sign up. Now, there's different levels, all right, for just $3 a month. I mean, $3 a month. I mean, the hardest part of donating $3 a month is just actually signing up. Like
that's a Starbucks coffee.
That's not even a Starbucks
coffee. That's not even a Starbucks.
If you try to put some cream or some soy or a wisp of cinnamon
don't you get that damn sweetener in there.
You're not getting that.
That's 50 cents a pump.
$3 a month, you get access to everything. Anything we put up there, including such as pictures of your wound,
so
which is disgusting.
It's gotten better, though. It's gotten better.
It has. A photo of us 5 years ago in Dublin where the young Mike Bond is looking
Nazi
like
Bond.
a serial killer. You can check that out
like
there.
A serial killer.
We've been doing I've been sitting in with the MMA Junkie radio guys, and probably once you're a little healthier, maybe you'll end up doing it too. But we've been doing a little kind of a cross-talk episode with them on Monday, so it's kind of like old school MMA Junkie radio, me, Gorgeous George, and Goes. You can get that, I should say, on their Patreon as well, but we've agreed that since it's kind of a joint effort that we'll put it on both places. So if you want to support the MMA Roadshow, you can do that, and you can get that kind of cross-talk episode. So
I like it.
Just $3 a month. However,
that's the roadie
but
level.
Wait, that's right. And there's more. If you want to go to $5 a month.
That's the producer level.
The producer level. Now we're talking about a Starbucks coffee, right? I mean, the $3 a month,
that's
that was
with the
for
whipped
like
cream.
That's like
with some sprinkles on it.
McCafe or something. McCafe is $3. $5 now you're going to Starbucks for the producer level. At that point, you got a little. You're getting access to everything, of course. But now, if you got questions you want heard on the podcast, we're gonna answer them, guaranteed. Whatever question you got, guaranteed. Now listen, we have not missed a week, 256 consecutive weeks. So it's not like you're gonna put in your
that's like 50 years.
It's like 50 years in a row that we have done it. So it's
you
not
want some
like
pills? I'm gonna go get some more pills.
Your pills are all. I might ask you for some pills on the way home. It's not like you're going to ask a question, then it's going to be 2 weeks later because the boys weren't doing podcasts. No, we're going to answer your question right away. So if anything you want to do, hit us up. Guaranteed, done. We're addressing your topic, whatever it may be. Then, I mean, if you want to go big time, if you're a baller,
if you're a star,
my friend, you can go to the star level for $10 a month. And at that point, listen. At this point, the way I put it on the patreon.com/the MMA Roadshow site is you're basically the boss at that point. We're working for you at that point. So if you got questions you want us to talk about, topics you want us to talk about, we'll do that. If you got questions to fighters, you give us the questions, we'll ask it for. We'll record it on video for you because we already got cameras rolling anyway. Now, the only thing I said there is if it's going to get me slapped, I'm not gonna ask that.
Can't ruin relationships.
No.
We have to work with them again.
Now, I may be able to get creative. I may be able to say, like, Bob from Idaho wants to know why you're such a bitch. You know what I mean? But we'll see. I have to be creative about these things. So try to understand that there are challenges involved. But that will be the.
But if we can get him on like a phone video answering Bob from Idaho and saying, "Hey, Bob, I'm a bitch because,"
we'll do it.
We'll
find a way. And most importantly, that will be the exclusive home every week for the and a half episode. So we will knock those out. If you've never heard one of the and a half shows before, I got one on patreon.com/the MMA Roadshow from last week, and it's free right now. It's public. Everybody can see it. So if you haven't, what I like to do is, we recap what's going on. I mean, I'll talk about my observations and what we saw, but I'll also include like some press conference clips, some post-fight backstage audio. I think it's kind of a nice little put a little bow on it. You can hear what I thought were the important quotes of the evening, or so maybe I've collected it from some of our other reporters that are out on the scene, but then also giving my thoughts as well and talking about it. So I think they're a great recap.
It is good. It is good. And I know that some people might be like, "Oh man, you've been giving them free forever and ever," and it is true. We have been doing it, but it gets to a point where these people that have reached in and have given us their own hard-earned money to help keep this thing going, we had to find ways to give them something back.
That's right.
And the N-a-halves, no offense to everybody that enjoys the ones that we've done in the past, this is just another effort to give back to those that have given to us. But we're still going to always going to have the weekly show that we put out.
That's right. We'll still always have this bad boy.
You're always going to get something from us
free.
each week. You're always going to get something free from us each week. It's just another way to give back to those that have given to us. And because we do appreciate it. And we're going to still try to find other ways to kind of keep giving stuff to those that have. So those that have given in the past, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, listen, this week is a busy weekend for MMA. I will say Bellator is doing it's a 2-show weekend. It's almost a 3-show weekend because they do that thing in Europe where they have like a numbered event and a European event. And that's all about TV contracts and where they go. So I understand why they have to do it. It's confusing as all hell.
Super confusing.
So it's Bellator Europe 7 and Bellator 240 on Saturday in Dublin. It's Bellator 239 on Friday in Thackerville, Oklahoma. Matt Erickson is in Thackerville, Oklahoma. I'm just going to say, to be honest with you, this weekend, while there's a lot of Bellator fights, it is not the greatest weekend of fights for Bellator. Now, Thackerville Friday night, Ed Ruth versus Yaroslav Amosov. That is an actual a very good fight. The 8-1 Ed Ruth super prospect versus Yaroslav Amosov, an undefeated 22-0 record. Pretty incredible stuff there, and not necessarily a name to the same degree, but certainly a matchup that makes a lot of sense in the Bellator welterweight division. Some other names there: Brandon Gertz versus Miles Jury, Tyrone Fortune versus Timothy Johnson, Javi Ayala versus Valentin Moldavsky. So
it's a good main card.
It's a good card. What I'm saying, I don't think the fights are going to be bad, and I do think there's some matchups that are going to help move some people forward, but it's not one of those ones that just screams at you that you got to make sure that you're there. So we'll see. And then, of course, the prelims. The prelims do have, again, some interesting names on there. Some of the people that...
All 13 of them.
Yeah, there's a lot
That's
of prelims.
That's a lot of prelims.
Christian Edwards is on there. Of course, Christian Edwards is the Johnny Bones protege that a lot of people are excited about, want to see big things out of him. Sean Bunch is on there versus Keith Lee. So a pretty interesting matchup there. Denise Kielholtz is there versus Christina Williams. That's actually a pretty meaningful fight. Gaston Bolanos is on there. Always like to see him fight. Mm-hmm. Josh Hill making his debut. So, I mean, there are Lucas Brennan, by the way, is the name. Old school fans like that. Chris Brennan's kid, who's, I think, still a teenager. But Chris Brennan, an old school name there. So, again, there are some names here. There are some fights here. It's just it's not the star-studded affair. But something to watch on Friday night for sure. Meanwhile, Saturday morning, you have the Bellator Europe card. Kind of lost some. It lost its headliner basically, so they had to scramble a little bit. It's a very European-centric card, and that's what they're trying to do. I mean, they're trying to capitalize on it, and it's a smart move from Bellator, man. They're building the brand in the region. They can have primetime cards there. But basically what it looks like is, it looks like a whole bunch of like Cage Warriors and, KSW. I mean, it's a very, very European-centric card that you're going to see on there. 4 Americans.
Just 4 Americans, that's it.
If you're in Europe, I mean, you're probably all about it.
There's the good fighters, though. I mean, Ricky Bandejas.
Beck Rawlings is on there.
Georgia Karakhanyan.
Yeah, Georgia Karakhanyan's on there.
It's a good card. When we were actually just talking about that other Bellator, when you kind of go through it, it's kind of got some sneaky names. A lot of times when we see some of these prelims, we always just assume it's the local just flavor. They're trying to sell tickets, but
no, this has got some of the prospects.
It's got some good fights. I mean, the second fight from the bottom, Richie Smolin. He's a hell of a fighter. I mean, he's from the Ultimate Fighter.
Yep.
People remember him from that one. He was a really, really fun guy to watch.
No, listen, I think for the hardcores, it's good. It's just it doesn't have the sexy title fight. It doesn't have the Grand Prix matchup.
That's pretty sexy right there.
That is a sexy title fight there. She's involved in all sexy title fights. But yeah, it just doesn't have the big. But you're right on the prelims. Bellator, and we talked about it before. I mean, when we cover Bellator events, we spend a lot more time talking about. They are doing a really good job of cultivating young talent.
Really good job.
I mean, they're
especially finding people in some of these markets that you don't know about.
right.
I think that's the great thing about them going into some of these little markets, and they're pushing and pushing and pushing. They're finding some of these people and then bringing them back over the States and introduce them to a lot of the people here in the U.S. When you look down this card, I mean, this is a good night. I mean, but you're right. There's not a lot of names that you stand that you're like, oh my God, I have to watch it.
Exactly.
But this is one of those ones that if you watch it, there's going to be good fights all throughout the night.
That's it. I think the fights are going to be good. I think they're going to be entertaining enough. It's going to be exciting enough.
Yeah.
I just don't think there's any of that. Can't miss this fight. Got to watch it live. Let's make sure my boys are with me. Let's make sure we're dialed in. I think this is one you can kind of throw on in the background and keep an eye on it. Maybe you check some highlights later. To me, the big matchup of the weekend, mixed martial arts wise, is definitely in the UFC. It's in Auckland, New Zealand. It's Paul Felder versus Dan Hooker. A very, very exciting lightweight fight. It takes place Saturday night, airs on ESPN Plus, Sunday morning in Auckland. So it's those early morning cards in Auckland, New Zealand, but airs in prime time on
Thank goodness.
on Saturday night. Yeah, thank God.
Thank goodness.
Listen, I just want to say,
that's
man,
a good card.
It's a good matchup. It's a good matchup. It's a good card too. This one does, I think, in many of the same ways. It's almost, to me, it's almost similar to the Bellator events, except that this one has the really nice headliner. I mean, this is a really big headliner.
Like the main card's stacked of like good fights. But yeah, the main event on this one is one that you're like, there's real heat, and it means something for the division.
That's
like
it.
there's a lot of shit riding on that one. But when you go through, I mean, that main card's pretty stacked. But when you go through the undercard, there's some good fighters, and that's why I'll give Bellator the credit sometimes too. When I'm looking at that, we just looked at the Bellator Dublin, as Tapology names it. That prelim on that one is really good and almost better than some of these fights that we're going to get on this.
Wow.
This UFC one. I mean, like, I don't know. I like Maki Pitolo, but the second fight on the Bellator one, who did we say was that Richie Smolin one? I'm actually a little more excited to see that fight than this Pitolo Sato fight.
Wow.
But I don't know. But I mean, I'm just Bellator. I mean, I think a lot of people overlook Bellator just because they think Bellator is Bellator or whatever. But their cards have consistently been getting better all throughout.
I would definitely agree with that.
And
I would say that their prelims mean a lot more than they used to be. Their prelims used to be nothing but local ticket sellers.
Yeah,
that's not the case anymore. No, the UFC prelims.
But I mean, it is good. This is a good card. I mean,
I like Pitolo versus Takashi Sato. I mean, Priscilla Cachoeira, Shana Dobson. Okay, that might be a loser leaves towns match.
Yeah,
I'm very excited. Yeah, Angela Hill versus Loma Lookboonmee. I'm really, really excited about that. Loma Lookboonmee only has a 4-1 MMA record, but she has hundreds of Thai fights. I mean, her striking is on point. I mean, that's where Angela Hill came from, was a kickboxing background before she came into mixed martial arts. And of course, Angela Hill now is rapidly improving. It seems like she's getting better and better every time out. So that's an interesting fight. As you said, Kai Kara France, always nice to see him fight versus Tyson Nam, a guy that's been on the grind forever. Song Kanan returns against Callum Potter, who's
he's
a tough
beast,
guy.
Dude.
Jake Matthews versus Emil Meek.
That should be an interesting one.
Yeah, Jalen Turner versus the newcomer, the undefeated newcomer, and Josh Kulabau. Kevin Aguilar versus. Then you get the main card, and as you said, I think the main card is going to have some really exciting fights. Kevin Aguilar versus Zubair Tukigov, Maga Mustafayev versus Brad Riddell, Marcos Rogero de Lima versus Ben Sosoli, Carolina Kovalevich versus Jan Janan, and Jimmy Crute versus Mikhail Alexeychuk. I think there's a potential.
You said his name very well.
I appreciate that. I think all this
butchered that last one.
But see, to me, what this is, you're right. In fact, I don't have a problem with you arguing that the Bellator card is better, because to me, the Bellator card and the UFC card this weekend are both similar. There's a lot of fights I think are going to be entertaining, but not ones that people are
going to be clamoring to see.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The difference is the UFC has the headliner, and that to me is the best. That is the most meaningful MMA fight of the weekend. Weekend, out of any fight.
Yep, I will not argue that at all. Like, that is one that has title ramifications, because that legit is a contender fight. That fight means a lot. And some of these other ones I think are going to be good and they'll be entertaining fights, but I think a lot of those Bellator ones could be just as entertaining as well.
I would agree with that.
You know,
I would agree with that. All right,
but there are some really good fights on this one.
I think we're gonna. I think we're gonna.
Good weekend of fights.
It's a good weekend, man. It's a good
really
weekend.
good weekend of fights.
Unfortunately, you'll be sitting at home just watching them all.
I like it.
Not doing anything
I
because you're still
fucking
recovering.
like it.
And with painkillers
But I mean,
I
I will still remote. But what the great thing about not having somebody at the Dublin ones is that I don't have to worry about trying to help edit any of that stuff.
Sure.
But like some of these ones, well, the one Bellator, the Thackerville or whatever.
we've got
I'll
Matt
help.
Erickson in Thackerville.
Erickson's there, so if he needs assist, I will gladly jump in. But these other ones, I am looking forward to just watch and be thoroughly entertained.
Well, and the other good thing about it too is they don't overlap. So like the Bellator card is, so you got Friday night Bellator, Saturday morning Bellator, Saturday night UFC. So if you want to dedicate your whole weekend to MMA, you can do it. Tell the girl. Wait till Sunday. We'll go kick it on Sunday.
That is amazing. It's going to be like, I don't know, my math is really bad. That's like a week full of fights.
Yeah, probably 45, 50 fights.
Yeah.
Probably 45 fights,
awesome.
something like that. So, yeah, you can watch them all. All right, listen.
Babe, it's Friday night. I know it. Sorry I can't see you. Check back in with me on Sunday.
Sorry about you.
Sorry.
All right. All right, listen. So I did want to speak to the two guys that are a big part of the biggest fight of the weekend, and we'll start with Dan Hooker. I've been a big fan of Dan Hooker through his rise. Anybody that's a long-time listener to the MMA Roadshow know that every time we're in a fight week with Dan Hooker, we always make sure and sit down with him because I just think he's so well-spoken, man. I think he's such an entertaining guy.
Yeah.
He's a pleasant guy to be around, but his analysis of the game is sharp and on point. He's open. He's honest about his feelings. I always enjoy talking to him, and this is a big moment for him, a main event in his hometown. It's against a top contender. It's a big night for him. So I wanted to speak to Dan Hooker and got him on the phone. Didn't make the trip to Auckland this time, which is a bummer. Auckland's such a great town, man. It's a cool place to go hang out, man. It's so laid back and people are super nice there. And obviously New Zealand's a beautiful country. But anyway, this is what Dan Hooker had to say.
Kia ora, John.
What's going on, brother?
Hey, very good to hear from you.
You as well, my man. How are you feeling, man? Main event, hometown. I mean, this has got to be exciting, dude. What's the energy like for you right now?
It's pretty crazy. Like, you can feel it in the gym. I come in this morning for a training session, and everyone's kind of bouncing off the walls, man. We got fighters the night before. Another two of my teammates on the card. Israel's in camp. Like, the energy in here is pretty electric. That's
pretty incredible. Have there been any bad stories yet? You got like cousins that you didn't know you had hitting you up for tickets or crazy stuff like that?
No, I'm blessed that I've been pretty good at that over the last few years, and I know full well not to deal with any sort of that. So I'm a delegator, let's just say that.
I dig it, man. Talk about that camp, man. I mean, the run that City Kickboxing is on, man. I mean, it's incredible. I wonder. I mean, what is it? Is it all Eugene and his greatness? Is it something that you guys give each other? Is it tactics? What is it that's keying this amazing run for you guys?
Well, it comes down, there are a few reasons, but definitely a couple of the main ones would be, combat sport's been in New Zealand for an incredibly long time, especially the striking aspect, with our K1 legends, Ray Sefo, Mark Hunt. Years ago, Jason Suddy, guys like this, and so the knowledge from their coaches has been passed down. Like it's the same lineage. Like that knowledge that they gained didn't go anywhere. Like it's been growing, and I feel like New Zealand combat sports was kind of out of the spotlight for a while, but now you're just seeing the resurgence of that same information and that same approach and that same knowledge. With this generation of fighters at City Kickboxing. So we have a lot of intelligent coaches that have had years and years and decades of experience in the game planning and tactical side of things, which a lot of people are obviously struggling to catch up with. And then the other main reason has to be the community that those coaches have created here at City Kickboxing. They have created a culture where everyone will go to bat for everyone else. For instance, my fight, 12-week camp, been training every day, couldn't train any harder. The following week, I'm going to come back and help Israel for his camp, or if it wasn't Israel and one of the amateur guys that helped me for my camp, needed a hand with his camp, I would be in here Saturday night. I would be in here Sunday just to help him out. And that's something that you're not going to see at other gyms where guys are genuinely going to bat for each other. You know, everyone does their camp, and then you won't see them for a couple of months until they get another fight booked, and then they're going. You know, if you have that kind of system, you only have a handful of training partners on the mat at the same time. Whereas with the system that we have, you have, you know, I have 100 people at sparring, which I can draw from any of them. So, you know, the bodies are always there, the styles are there, and you're always getting the different looks.
That's awesome. What did it mean to you with Izzy getting the Sportsman of the Year award the other day? I thought that was pretty cool, man. Is that that's got to be a big moment for MMA and the sport as a whole, right? I mean, you guys all got to take some victory in that.
Yeah, also it was a pretty funny one. Like when they were campaigning for it at the start, I was kind of thinking, what's the big deal at first? But then I saw when he won the award. And even leading up to it, you know, played on national TV. Like I was just a bit ignorant of it because I've been solely focused on combat sports for the last decade that I don't really take in, you know, the mainstream sport. We have, you know, rugby, netball, cricket is generally what sports do well at these kind of awards. So. But since he won this Halberg Award, man, I've had people that I never thought would had any kind of interest in the sport asking me questions about it. The old lady going, "Oh, MMA, so MMA, all right?" Like the recognition that it got from Israel winning the Halbergs and his speech and how well he presented himself, it's done wonders for the sport here.
That's awesome, man. So let's talk about your fight, Dan. I mean, you've always been really good at kind of crafting your career and, you know, picking out matchups and making, you know, kind of storylines, I'd say. So when you guys started going back and forth a little bit, I thought, well, this is Dan doing what he does, man. He's propping up a fight the way he does, man. But has this gotten a little bit personal, man? That promo the other night, you did not seem like a very happy man.
It's just something that no one has ever prompted from me in the past. So that's something that's always been a part of. It's always been there. It's always been a part of my personality. But I guess it's just something that people haven't seen yet. They haven't seen it because no one's been able to find something that kind of one of the buttons, you know, something that gets me going. And you know, I've had opponents in the past, or I've had opponents yell at me at weigh-ins and get into my face and telling me I'm rubbish and they're going to retire me and this and that. And I always felt like it was from a place of weakness. I always felt like it was because they were scared. I could feel it. That it wasn't genuine, you know, because you see them during the weekend, they'll kind of avoid eye contact, or you can feel it's called fear aggression. When someone gets scared, they get aggressive, and that to me is not that doesn't get me going at all. You know, if you respond to fear aggression, that person is going to garner some kind of confidence out of that response. So I always just left it and I ignored it and I brushed past it. But you know, Felder, I know full well he's a man of respect. So for him to come out and disrespect a family name or whatever he has done. Cross the line for me, and there's only one way in my mind that gets sorted. That's either he backs down and apologizes, which is a non-option. That's a non-option where we're set to fight anyway, or it's a fist fight, and we're going the fist fight route. So whatever tension that we have, I'll let it all out on fight night, and then whatever problem I have with him. With the things he said, I get to settle it inside the cage, and I get to settle it the way I like to settle things.
I love it. What was the moment like at that Maori welcome, Dan? Because, I mean, I've seen those before, and those are intense, man. They stir emotion, and then for you guys to be face-to-face, my God, what was that like? It had to be a little bit tense.
Yep. So it's I appreciate that he you know, because he didn't have to do that. He didn't have to come to the marae. He didn't have to come for the poetry. But he did, and he fronted, and it was it is tense, bro. When the warriors come out with the tie and they get in your face, and it's a very tense situation. You can definitely feel it when you're there and you're experiencing it in that kind of setting. But culturally, the marae is a sacred place, and it's a place of peace, and it's a place of unity. So it would have been, if I would have done something disrespectful, it would have been disrespectful to the marae itself and that whole tribe itself. I would have. It's called mana, which is kind of your pride or your respect. It would have reflected very negatively on that marae and that place. So that was a non-option. So for then and there, in that place of peace, then it's kind of all off. But they were telling me, there's a big field out there, and none of us have any tickets. So if you want to sort it out outside, that'll be fine with us.
That's great, man. That's great. Well, talk to me about what you see in him as an opponent, Dan. I mean, obviously you've proven you're a dangerous guy. I mean, everybody's excited about this fight, but I mean, technically, what do you see in him as an opponent? I mean, does he present some dangers that concern you?
He's tough. I give him that. Like, he's tough. He's fit. He's strong. Like, you're going to catch it at this level of combat in the world. When you're talking top 10, top 5 opponents, everyone's going to be dangerous. Felder, I feel like he matches up with me well. I feel like it's going to be skill for skill. I think I just have too much class for him.
I dig it. And a win here, man, big. You're at the top of the division right now. So have you started to think about what makes sense? I mean, do you look at names? Is it Gaethje? Is it Poirier? What makes sense for you after this?
Yeah, coming into the top 5 on a 3-5 win streak will present some pretty incredible opportunities. And those two you named are the only real options. And I already asked Poirier to dance once. I don't ask twice. And that Gaethje fight, bro, that's the one that when you mention it to fight fans, when you mention it in discussions, it's the one that makes the hair on your arm stand up. He's an incredible finisher. I'm an incredible finisher. That fight packs out and sells out any arena in any part of the world that you put it on in.
I agree, man. I agree. Well, brother, I am sad that I'm not going to be there, but I'll be watching. Let me know, man. What fight are we going to be watching on Sunday morning? Is this? Are we looking for a back and forth battle, or can you go and do something quick and decisive? What am I going to be tuning into?
5 rounds. 5 rounds. I'm looking for a tough fight. I'm looking for the hardest fight I've ever been in. I feel like we're just going to be throwing level for 25 minutes, and I cannot wait.
All right, so there you go, Dan Hooker, man. You can see he is fired up, he is dialed in, he is focused. Man, listen, I'll be honest. I thought that he was kind of, I don't want to say making up, but how do you say it? Just kind of exaggerating, I guess would be the right word. This rivalry or this frustration that he had with somebody making fun of his name and his family.
Yeah.
But dude, I'm telling you, on that promo when he said, you're making, you're talking trash about the name I hand down to my kid, and like, dude, anytime you start involving kids, man, and like the heritage that you give to them, like, you're serious at that point. Like, it pisses you off, But it sounds to me like he's at least believing it right now for the moment. And as he said, they can be cool afterwards, but not right now. Right now, it's pissing him off. And man, I love the idea that he's willing to go out there and fight Justin Gaethje, man, because there's not a lot of people putting their hand in the air for that fight. So, pretty cool stuff, man. I'm fired up for that one. So, and then we'll just waste no time. I had a chance. Thank you to the PR team down in the Anzac region. They were kind enough to arrange me some time to speak with Paul Felder as well. So the Irish Dragon had a few moments, and here's what he had to say.
Hey, John, it's Paul.
Oh, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. I didn't even have to go through a middleman. This is good stuff.
No, they gave me direct to phone.
I dig it. Well, Paul, man, listen, at this point, man, you're an expert traveler, but this is a long journey. Talk to me about the jet lag and kind of what your approach was and how you handled it and just how you're holding up with it right now.
Well, luckily we had a direct flight from Chicago, so me, Daniel, my jiu-jitsu coach, and my nutritionist, and Craig, we got in early. I got here Friday, so I've been here since Friday. So we just wanted to make sure we adjusted. We got our own Airbnb. We got this big house that we're all living in, not living out of hotels and things like that. So we're comfortable. I got my own room, my own bed, my own bathroom. So that really helped adjust to it. So I feel completely adjusted already.
Very nice. Have you made it around town yet? I mean, are you public enemy number one, or are the people showing you some love, or are you getting some funny looks? What's it been like?
I'm getting looks, but more love than anything, and people being honest, telling me that they're obviously rooting for Dan, but thank you for coming. Welcome to New Zealand. The Kiwis seem to be the type of people that, they just want to fight. They want their guy to win, but at the end of the day, that they're glad that, we're bringing MMA and the UFC to their city and boosting tourism and all that kind of stuff here. So I just did a radio show, and the guys are hilarious, and they had, T-shirts made up for me if I lose, saying Dan Hooker beat my ass and all this kind of stuff. But, it's all in fun, man. They're respectful, and I know they'll be hostile on fight night, but I don't expect it afterwards, win or lose.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun. What's the fight week feel for you like now, Paul? I mean, you're a part of so many fight weeks, working. So it's old hat, and you're seeing familiar faces, I'm sure, and people you work with. But now, you're the fighter, not the commentator. So has that affected kind of your energy or the way you feel on fight week because of all your commentating duties and that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, the commentating helps just because everybody, you're familiar, and even everybody I'm working with now, I've already come out here and done a little press conference type stuff and photo shoots. So I've been here. I've seen the city before. I've worked with everybody. Yeah, man, I've been doing this a long time now, and it just feels like it's all starting to settle into where it needs to be. And I feel comfortable, and I feel like main event is exactly where I should be right now.
Yeah, no doubt about it. The matchup is fun, man. I mean, when it got announced, we were excited, but I thought you guys were just having a little fun, a little back and forth, a little playfulness. But at this point, I think this dude hates you, man. I mean, is this a grudge match for you? Is there like added emotion here? Do you kind of not like the guy the same way that he obviously does not care for you?
Nope, it's totally on him. I don't give a shit, to be honest with you. I'm here for one reason, and it's to put on a fist fight and get that win on Sunday. This whole stuff was fun for me. I was joking around, but I've said it 100 times now. We're fist fighting. It doesn't matter if he likes me. He's going to try to hurt me regardless. So it can be whatever it needs to be. It's to be more fun for the fans this way.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do you think maybe he's trying to build it up? I mean, I like Dan a lot, man. He's a good dude, but I got to imagine at 30 years old, like he's heard a hooker joke once or twice in his life, right? I mean, so do you think he's like kind of building something up a little bit, maybe trying to put something on?
Yeah, maybe, or maybe he's really offended. I don't know. Either way, he doesn't obviously have a thick skin for that kind of stuff, but it wasn't my intention to to insult his surname and his family. That was never my goal. It was just having fun. I mean, he did tell me he was going to smash my face in first, so I didn't take too kindly to that either. But like I said, John, we're fighting. We're professional fighters, and no matter how much we like each other or don't like each other, when that door closes on Sunday, we're going to be trying to beat the shit out of each other.
No doubt about it. All right, well, break him down, Paul. I mean, what do you see? I mean, obviously you don't need to give away the game plan or anything, but I mean, he's had some success, right? I mean, what do you see in this guy? Are you impressed by what he brings to the cage?
I'm impressed by his calmness and his timing. I think he stays very relaxed and he sets up his shots. He's not exactly the fastest lightweight out there, especially coming off a fight when I fought Edson last. It was one of the fastest guys I've ever dealt with in my life. But I'm impressed by his timing, and with timing and placement comes power, and you see that in a lot of his fights. But obviously, I see holes and I see weaknesses, and I think they're in all the areas where I'm really strong. And I'm going to be able to put on a pace for this fight that you guys haven't seen yet.
Interesting. What? I mean, have you done something special, something different that gives you that feel that you're going to be able to do it this time?
Bro, I trained my balls off for this fight. I'm the lightest I have ever been. I'm lighter now than I was the night before making weight for Edson.
Wow.
Okay, so I'm ready for 5 rounds. My recovery is insane. My resting heart rate yesterday was 33 beats per minute when I woke up in the morning.
That's crazy.
So we did all the preparation. I brought in Ian Larios, my nutritionist. He cooked for me. He's with me, living in my Airbnb, cooking every meal that I'm eating. He's going to rehydrate me, refuel me. And Duke, just put it on me more than he ever has in any of our fights. He was willing to take the beatings on the pads and the sparring. All my sparring partners really, it's just been a great camp. So no matter what happens on Sunday, this is my first main event. I wanted to make sure that I didn't leave it, in the hands of anybody else. I spent the money. I did the things that you need to do to become one of the best in the world.
That's awesome. I wondered kind of where your motivation was for fighting. I mean, not that you wouldn't be fired up, but obviously, man, you set yourself up very well for your post-fighting days. I mean, people love the work that you're doing as a broadcaster, and I think your spot is secure there. But you're saying right now, man, everything's gelling. I feel like I'm right where I'm at. So, I wondered, was this kind of like a last run for you? But it almost sounds like you don't feel like this is the end. Like you feel like you're right in the middle of it right now. So where do you think you stand in terms of fighting? Because I do got to imagine it's nice not getting punched in the face and still collecting a check.
Yeah, of course it is, and I feel like that will be there for me, But I've been gone and away from my daughter and my family, and put my friends and family through too much stress over the years for me to just say, oh, I got a cushy job as a commentator. Let me stop when I'm number 6 in the world and getting things like main events now. That's not what this journey was for. It doesn't feel like that's how it's supposed to end.
That's awesome. I mean, are there ever any days in training camp where you wake up and go, why am I still pursuing this ridiculous dream when there's a way easier one on the other side?
Of course, I don't take steroids, so I wake up most days feeling like, why the hell am I doing this sport? If you don't take steroids, you wake up most days, if you're training properly, there's days you hate yourself, And then I look at a picture of my 4.5-year-old daughter who's at home right now missing her daddy, and I think, get your ass in gear and get in the gym.
That's awesome. Well, look, I know you're a big picture guy. I mean, I know you understand the sport, so I want to ask, as a lightweight, like you said, a ranked lightweight in a main event. I mean, we're thinking about where this fits in the title picture and all that. And I know we got a title fight in April, but is the Conor McGregor factor like a distraction or a frustration or anything? I mean, knowing, as you said, you can pursue this dream, and that dude can probably just jump in whenever he wants and take a title fight from you.
Oh man, who cares? At this point, I'm not even worried about that. He's calling out Diego Sanchez and all this stuff on Twitter, and I'm not even thinking about that. I'm focused on Dan Hooker and this main event in New Zealand, and whatever's on the tip of my tongue, and however things shake out after me is how they'll shake out. But they can't deny me a top 5 guy with a win on Sunday. That's for sure.
Yeah, no question. What's the feeling like for you, man? I know you've gone on the road, but I mean the boo. The boos are going to come in, and you're right, man. The Kiwis, they just love a scrap. They're gonna cheer for you if you win afterwards and all that. So what's happening.
Yeah.
They'll buy you a beer afterwards. But that moment of walking to the cage when they're going to be booing the hell out of you, does that like energize you? Does it get you down? What is that feeling like?
I'm going to have my dad's ashes around my neck, and my family and my mind, and my walkout songs are going to represent all that. They're going to represent where I'm from and what I represent on Sunday night. And I think the Kiwis won't like it at first, but they'll respect it afterwards. Because listen, they're a proud bunch over here. They're representing New Zealand. They're behind their guy. I'm coming in with that same energy coming from the USA, baby. So we're representing on Sunday, and you'll see it.
I dig it, man. All right, when you play this thing out, what is it? Is this a performance of the night? Get it done quick and impressive, or is this a fight of the night? Back and forth scrap, and you get your hand raised that way.
I'm hoping it's both for me. I'm hoping it's a back and forth scrap, and then a bonus at the end of it on top of it. But who knows? Could be anything, John. This sport's fucking crazy, man. So I just all I can predict and all I can do is being in the best shape I've been in, and checking all the boxes off. And they're all checked except for making 156 on Friday night.
Can't say any better than that, brother. I appreciate it, man. Best of luck. I'm sorry I'm not there, but we will definitely be watching, man.
Thank you, brother. Always good talking to you, man. I'll see you on the road.
Sounds good, brother. right, so there you have it, the other half of your main event down in UFC Auckland. Man, funny, Felder kind of the opposite. It's like, hey, listen, this fight is not personal to me. I'm sorry that he's all upset. I didn't mean anything by it. But hey, if it pisses him off and it seems like a rivalry, that's just better for the fans anyway. So I dig it. And man, the other thing I really took out of that, Cold Coffee, is that I thought, to be honest, that Paul Felder, I don't want to say I worried about him a little bit, but man, he's doing really good in his broadcasting career. Like, a lot of people are really, I think he's well received. You know what I mean? I think he gets a lot of praise for his work. And I know that that's not, the week-to-week check that they get, from doing those events isn't as big as they can collect on a fight purse.
Right.
But, man, I mean, if you can make enough to get by and not have to get punched in the face, I don't know. I just worry that maybe was Felder's focus where it needed to be, or was his determination and desire as high as it would be if he didn't have a backup plan in place. Once you had that parachute in place, are you as concerned? But dude, he sounds dialed in and ready to go.
Yeah, and this is a guy that's 5 months removed from defeating Edson Barboza. So, I mean, who is just as dangerous and scary as it gets, and that was just 7 months prior to him beating James Vick. So this is a guy that's still fighting at such a high level, and it's not like a guy that can go like that. And even though great on him being able to work and get this other stuff, he's still fighting at such a high level that, I'm sure he wants to get that, make sure that that's out of his system before he fully goes over. Because you're right, I love his breakdowns. I like hearing him on the shows that he calls and stuff. So, and we've always said, last thing we want to try to do is retire fighters and say, oh, it's time for them to hang it up. He's still got some good fights left into him. He seems like he's the kind of guy that's too smart to let himself psych himself out of a fight, like to go into a fight unprepared. And he probably enjoys some of this playful banter, because I think having him watch and see these fights and break down, I think he understands a lot more the mental side of things that go into these fights. So there's probably a part of him that just thoroughly enjoys the fact that his opponent is just so caught up into it, and that while he can stay sort of distanced, that it's still kind of fun. I mean, because this is the guy too that's been fighting since 2009. So if 10, 11 years later, you still can find these fun little moments into a fight week. Good on him, because eventually at some point, he's probably going to realize that, maybe I'll keep this face pretty, for calling these things. As pretty as he is.
He could be.
Yeah, as he can be. Are you saying he's not a good-looking individual? Should I call up the Irish Dragon and say, hey, Morgan thinks that you know?
No, please don't, because he'll kick me or something. He's not afraid. He's not afraid.
It should be a really, really fun fight. And I like seeing these fight, because both of these guys, as much as they're amped up and that they want to fight and throw down, I agree with you that as soon as it's done, I don't think anything's been said that these guys can't have the respect afterwards and shake hands and be able to kind of and move forward. Because as much as Dan says, like, he said this about his name, blah, 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 I don't think he's really out there saying, like, oh, man, you're a family.
Well, like I said, I mean, let's be honest. Like, Dan has to have heard a hooker joke.
Had to have
There's
heard that.
no way he hasn't heard a hooker joke in his life. You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to minimize what he said, because I get it. And I don't know the lineage of his name. And it is right, like you're saying. I mean, I'm telling you, when he said that as a fellow father, when he said that, like, you're insulting the name that I will pass down to my son. I was like, ooh. That's, you know what I mean?
It's just interesting, because I've never really felt like he's needed something like that to get him amped up for a fight before. So it's interesting that seems to be a focal point in his mind going in this fight, like that his opponent he's crossed the line in it, because I've never seen Dan need that before.
Right. I wonder, and and that was kind of my whole thing going in, is that I thought it was more playful banter, because I thought, not that he's trying to be Israel Adesanya. You can't be Israel Adesanya. No. It's like trying to be Conor McGregor. I mean, there's certain guys that just had that it factor, right? They have it. But, Dan does see, he has grown, and he does understand the business, and he does. Like, so it did make me think, is he trying to, hey, I'm main event, this is my hometown, I got to try to, and if he did, good on him. There's nothing wrong with it.
Nothing wrong with that at all.
Let's just hope it doesn't impact how he affects in the cage, how he approaches the fight, because this should be a great fight. And it's the kind of fight that I think absolutely, I can totally see this one going 5 rounds. Both dudes are bloody.
Yeah.
You know, it's 48-47 one way or the
Paul
other.
Gets bloodied
and
up.
they're
Paul gets bloodied up.
Yeah, and they're, you know, and they're hugging it out at the end for like, dude, that was crazy. Like, bro, thank you. You know what I mean?
Hope so.
I hope so too, man. I think
That'd
it's
be a lot of fun.
I think it's gonna be fun. So, all right. Listen, a couple other things going on. I did hear a little bit, by the way. It's not. Don't report this as news. That's definitely not set in stone or anything like that. But we've been looking at the light heavyweight division. It's been pretty interesting, right? I mean, you kind of say, man, you got 3 guys that kind of have a case for a title shot right now. You know, Thiago Marreta Santos. You know, a lot of people thought he beat John Jones, and a lot of people thought he deserved a rematch. Of course, he had the knee surgeries.
Yeah.
He had to stay away for a while. Jan Blachowicz made a huge statement last week. I mean, we said he had to go in there and make a massive statement against Corey Anderson. He did. He did. And again, I talked about it on the and a half episode, but not only did he get the result, but then he went and, you know, he did everything right after the fact too, you know, going over and pointing at John Jones and, hey, are we going to do this or what? And
Jones, that was so good.
He was eating it up, dude.
That was just perfect.
He was eating it up.
Couldn't have been any better how he accepted that.
But I will say, I've heard behind the scenes that the right now the way the tide is flowing is Dominic Reyes still has the inside track. I think that's the way the UFC is leaning right now. So I think Jan probably knew that to a degree. You know, Jan said, hey, I'll wait if I have to. I kind of like the idea of Jan and Thiago doing it again. I've heard Thiago may be clear by summertime, but not sure yet. I would feel bad for Jan to feel like he has to, you know, fight again. But I mean, I don't know. It seems like that might be. I don't necessarily know an interesting rematch, but if you think about it, I mean, Jan made a massive statement, and he's certainly in line to fight for the title right now. He's on this great run, but he is 7-1 in his last 8, and that one loss was to Marreta. So I think it would be kind of interesting for those 2 guys to go, hey, we both think we deserve it. The only thing is Jan would be the fresh matchup, so I would think that maybe he, you know, deserves a little more or wouldn't have to fight. And I don't know. It's an interesting little trio right now, but what I heard is that the inside track is with Dominic Reyes right now. Thiago's not quite cleared yet anyway. Yeah. He may be cleared by the summer. But I'll be honest, I like the idea of Thiago Santos and Jan Blachowicz, you know, running it back to determine who gets that next spot.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, especially after the injury, you almost kind of want to see where his body's at before you immediately throw him back in the champ. And plus,
that's definitely true.
You know, he took a loss from the champ, and I think a lot of people always want to see some sort of a victory after that to make sure that they warrant it. My only fear is that, you know, he has to take another fight, and then we see an injury, and then, you know, Thiago takes another injury or something, and then we start after having that talk of, you know, whether it's time to really maybe back away from the sport if your body starts breaking down again. But I think that would be a fun fight to watch. I'm certainly not upset about Reyes getting back in there. I'm sure Jones probably doesn't want to see him right off the bat. I think he probably wanted to see somebody new.
I thought about that too. Like I mean, maybe it wasn't like a big conscious effort, but I thought part of him getting all hype about Blachowicz was like, you know,
he was kind of happy about it. I mean, that's
I'll take that guy.
The way that Corey was moving around, Corey was having a nice pace. The way he was moving, until he sort of just got a little too close and you know, kind of had that hand down. He was looking good, and I just feel like Jones in his mind probably was wanting Jan because I think he feels that he's more of not a, I hate saying like a one-trick pony, but he knows where the danger is coming.
Stay away from the legendary Polish power, and you're probably going to be okay.
Just stay and you'll be okay. You know, so I think in his mind he's probably like, yeah, the better of the two.
I think so too.
Because he didn't probably want to deal with the wrestling, which we never really saw.
Not that John is afraid of anybody, but strategically pick. I think you're right. I think first of all, I think he likes fresh matchups. I think he likes new things to do, and I agree. I think he's like, look, that guy doesn't have the pace, doesn't have the movement, that Dominic Reyes does. I think he'd rather fight Jan Blachowicz. I think that's part of the reason he was like,
bring it on.
Let's do this. You know what I mean?
I wonder if Corey would have got the same one if he would have been as enthusiastic. I mean, we'll never know because we didn't have to see it, but maybe he would have. I mean, he was in his home. You know, maybe that part of that was just showing up for the crowd because the crowd was loving on him and he was loving every bit of it. You know, he even kind of said that he was doing like little mini autograph sessions in between fights and stuff. So maybe regardless of who would have won, he might have
play
given
up
the
to the
same.
crowd.
Yeah, he might have just
It's a
played
good
up
point,
to the
too.
crowd. You never know. But I'm excited to see whatever. I mean, I'm excited to see Reyes if that is the one. What lessons he learned from that, and if he's going to come at it and approach it, and be interesting to see what Jones does as well, because I still feel that Jones maybe wasn't giving Reyes the credit that he deserved, and I don't think that's going to happen the second time around.
I'll tell you what's funny, man, is I went back and watched Jones Gustafsson 1 the other day, just to kind of go back and remember it,
Yep.
There are so many similarities between that fight and the Dominic Reyes fight. A fight where, the challenger obviously got out to the clear advantage, obviously won round 1. And, John got a little bit more damage in that one. He had a cut over the eye early, and he got tagged a lot more. There was, we didn't in that one. We had the spectacular moment where Jones had that, legendary spinning elbow that's in all the highlights now, where that changed the entire course of the fight. But it's interesting, it was like the challenger who didn't give him respect and went straight at him, won the opening round. John had to make adjustments, maybe didn't have his best stuff that night, but clearly won the latter rounds.
Yeah.
It was just weird. And I'll tell you what, man, when they rematched,
it was totally different.
Different fight. John handled it. So I'm intrigued by that. I've said all along, I've said all along I wanted to see the rematch. So to hear that seems to be the way the wind is blowing at the UFC office, I'm pretty excited about that.
Who'd you pick in that one?
Originally or in the rematch?
No, in the rematch. Who would you pick?
I'd
in the
pick
rematch?
John. You can't pick against John.
Because I think he's better. He's better in his rematches.
I agree.
Because I think
he's better in his rematches.
He's so much. Because as much as everybody will focus on, well, the guy's seen Jones stuff. He knows what to bring. So did Gustafsson, and we saw what happened. It was like they had never fought before, and that John just came
crazy,
and was
man.
like a bulldozer. And I just have a feeling that could happen again.
And man, when you think about the team around John, how smart and analytical they are, and now they have 25 minutes of tape, not just tape to watch of Reyes, but tape to watch of Reyes and John together.
And how John,
you know what I'm saying? Exactly. So where they can say, look,
he made
fix this, and then here's how we're going to go about it this time. I'd take John rematch, but I want to see it. Man.
It would be fun.
All right, listen, we mentioned the biggest MMA fight of the weekend, but it's not the biggest combat sports fight of the weekend. That would be Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury II right here in
no, you
Las
guys going to talk
Vegas,
boxing?
Nevada.
Are you guys going to talk boxing?
Hey, man, listen, we don't talk a lot of boxing, but I will be honest. This fight has me captivated, man.
This is a fun fight.
It's the heavyweight champion of the world, which obviously heavyweight title fights. I mean, that always captures people's imagination, but it's not that for me because, like I've said before, I love the lighter weights in MMA. Flyweights, bantamweights, featherweights. I love that. Sometimes. Not even sometimes, usually more than heavyweights because it's more dynamic. It's, I think that they can do a lot more things. They definitely don't have cardio issues and stuff like that. So it's not that. Just like, oh, these two guys are big, so I'm excited. No, I mean, Deontay Wilder is one of the hardest punchers you've ever seen in your life. And it is not exactly technical. It is just, dude is throwing bombs.
Yeah.
And if he lands one, you're done. Meanwhile, you got Tyson Fury, who is a great boxer, a much better pure boxer. I mean, light years ahead in terms of pure boxing. Moves incredibly well for as big as he is.
6'9".
Amazing, and the guy moves well. I mean, it's incredible to watch. And
it is pretty spectacular when you see good boxers and their movement. Like
it's
fact
on a
you see
different
these
level.
Two guys, and when Tyson is on in his movement, it is so fun to watch.
It's incredible
because it doesn't look natural to see somebody that big to be that fluid when they're moving, and it really is. It's pretty fucking cool to see.
And he is an absolute character. I mean, the guy says anything. The guy is just entertaining as all. I mean, we got to deal with him a little bit in person when he signed up for the WWE thing. And he did a press conference at T-Mobile, and we got to deal with him just for a few minutes. But I mean, the guy is just charismatic as all get out.
I just want to kind of keep talking to him.
Yes, and he's so fun. And it's just, I mean, he says he'll contradict himself from one statement to the next. It's not like it makes sense. It's just funny. And somebody was asking him. One of the famous quotes that's going around for this camp is, talking about his preparation, his cardio and everything. He's like, I've been wanking 7 times a day or whatever. I mean, just stuff like that where it's just completely inappropriate. But he's a character. So, I mean, it's two characters.
And the walkouts to the fights are so fun. Some of the stuff he does is just incredible. I am looking forward to that. I mean, it is going to be. That's the thing about boxing. Like, there is actually even another title fight on that particular card, but this is the fight. There's something about heavyweights going at, and especially talented heavyweights, charismatic heavyweights,
and then heavyweights that have history.
Yeah,
that first fight is unbelievable,
pretty incredible.
And it's so funny because the first fight, if you haven't seen it, it ended in a draw. Tyson Fury absolutely outboxes the hell out of Deontay Wilder, right? I mean, just banking rounds. And then Wilder catches him with this massive punch. And if you didn't know what you're watching, I'm sure you've probably seen the GIF by now where, Fury is flat on his back. And then he just sits up. And again, not a big pro wrestling guy, am I? But I thought it was amazing. Like, people would set it to the music of The Undertaker or whatever, where, like, Fury just sits up. Like, well, oh, my God, what's happening? I mean, Wilder hits him and goes around and starts celebrating. And so, like, literally is like, hey, I did it, kissing his gloves and whatever. And Fury. So, I mean, and the fight ends in a draw. So it's a great fight. It is definitely the biggest combat sports matchup of the weekend. And again, we spent the majority of our time talking about MMA, as we always will. But it's right here in Las Vegas, and I happen to be off work on Wednesday. So I went to the press conference. The guys did end up shoving each other during a stare down before the press conference.
Which is so awesome.
Which is awesome, but is weird because they're standing up there and there's no security.
Yeah.
There's no promoter. There's nobody, right? And it's fine. Like, if you just let them walk up and they have like 10 seconds and then you go, okay, like, whoops, we should have had somebody here, and you pull them away, fine. They let them literally just jab at each other for a couple of minutes. I mean, just jawing back and forth. And what sucks is there's no microphone up there, so you can't hear what they're saying, but they're just jawing at each other. And then they ended up shoving each other, and you're like, dude, where were you guys? Like, why is there no security there? Like, even if it's just for the show, like, it seems like there's more danger when there's people that have to, like, hold them back or whatever. But the Nevada State Athletic Commission, because of this, first of all, they were going to face off again at the end of the press conference. Yeah. The promoters said, no, let's not do that. And now the Nevada State Athletic Commission has said, you're not going to face off at the weigh-ins either because you guys shoved each other. So
it's weird because they shoved each other, but it still felt like they were still professional enough that they were like, okay, you shoved me, I'm going to shove you, but we're not going to go at it.
I mean, look, they knew that. I mean, they know there's millions.
Why, like, they were selling it.
Yeah. Why fight on Wednesday for free when you can fight on Saturday for money?
And make all that money, So it was weird because I remember watching it, but I remember thinking, like, it's not going to go any further than this. It's not going to be further. But I loved the fact that he was like, okay, you got me good. Now I'm going to come give you one.
But see, I think and again,
because when people did come up, they backed away.
Exactly.
No problem.
And that's why I think I mean, it's just silly that you had him there with nobody around. Like, again, even just like because, dude, how many times have we seen it in MMA, right? Like, somebody pushes somebody, and then they basically look, they're almost waiting for somebody to grab them and hold them back because they know somebody's going to hold them back. They don't really want to fight. They just want to put on a show.
Yeah.
But when there's nobody else to hold you back, you
and especially for how long they left them at it.
They left them for a long time.
That's the part, I mean, where it gets to the point where, because I remember listening to it, and then you start to hear a little bit more and more what they're saying.
Yeah, because they started to bring the mic. Well, and they started to bring the mics up.
And I was gonna say, I thought somebody must have brought a mic because you could actually start to hear like more legible stuff. But one, they should never just let them go up there for that long.
Too long.
But they also, I think they realized that they were smart enough that they could get their little bits of showmanship in there. Like, I'm gonna push you, you could push me, okay. And then they just backed away, and then they just jawed. But they knew that the crowd was going to eat it up, and it was fun. I had a hell of a time watching it. I thought it was awesome.
It's going to be a big one. I mean, listen, I get it, man. Pay-per-views aren't cheap, and if you're an MMA fan and you're cash strapped already from the UFC budget, I get it. But if you can find a bar that's showing it or a buddy that wants to go in with you, man, I think this is going to be Saturday night. It is Saturday night, so you'd have to squeeze it around UFC Auckland. But UFC Auckland's on streaming, pause, whatever. But you got options. Just say it's a big fight. All right, listen, while I was there, though, I made sure to go talk to my man Kevin Iole, good friend, lives here in Vegas, of course, Yahoo Sports. Known for his MMA work, but I think even more so. And I don't mean to take away from his MMA work because he was one of the first people to cover the UFC for a major newspaper, working for the Las Vegas Review-Journal here in town. So he's been influential in MMA coverage as well. But I mean, he's actually a Hall of Fame boxing writer that's been covering the sport. He's a legend. 40 years covering the sport.
Yeah, when he comes into, like when I've covered boxing and I'll watch Kevin come in, it's amazing seeing the respect that a lot of the other journalists and then the promoters do, because you just know him as Kevin, It's like Kevin we've always seen around MMA, and it's just fun. I love seeing the respect that he gets when he comes into
He's the man
when
there.
he comes into an event, yeah.
So I definitely wanted to pick his brain real quick and just get him to give his thoughts. So this was in the moments before the press conference started on the floor of the MGM Grand Garden Arena, which, by the way, was just kind of cool being back there, like kind of nostalgic. I mean, the UFC held so many events, man. Studio A and B was where the press room was, so it was kind of cool. But this was my conversation about this fight with Kevin Iole.
Oh, Kev, I mean, obviously you're the boxing expert. You crossed over the MMA world, but I had to get your advice on this. I mean, this fight, how big is this in the landscape? Because, I mean, from the outside looking in, it feels like it's a big one.
I think it's the biggest heavyweight fight since Tyson Holyfield II. Some people would say Lewis Tyson in 2002, but I think, Tyson was over the hill by that point, and it wasn't as competitive a fight as we would have thought. I think Holyfield Tyson, both of them, they were number 1 and 2 in the division, and because of the first fight, the huge upset, Holyfield was a 25-1 underdog. Tyson, ends up losing that fight. The rematch in the second fight was so intense. People were so into it. I think this is the biggest heavyweight fight since then.
That's crazy. It's being shown on 2 different pay-per-view networks, right? I mean, how does that happen? I mean, we'd never see that in mixed martial arts, right? It never come together.
And you never see it in boxing. I mean, it's only happened, as far as I know, 2 other times, with Mayweather and Pacquiao and with Tyson and Lewis. And other than that, it's never happened. But I think it's been great because, like I did a story, they had over 130 million views just on the Super Bowl alone because Fox had the Super Bowl. ESPN had the national championship game. They had Fury on the national championship game. They've had 2 live press conferences on Fox. Now this one is on all the networks. I mean, so the coverage they've gotten has been unprecedented, the exposure they got for the fight. And I think this is probably going to be a sign of things to come in boxing.
Interesting. So, I mean, basically when you break down style, people haven't watched these guys fight. It's Deontay Wilder with the crazy knockout power, right, versus Tyson Fury, the pure boxer, right? And that's what we saw the first time around. I mean, what changes the second time? I mean, is it still just can the guy outbox him versus can he land a big shot?
I think there's a couple things that can change. Fury, number one, is saying, and I don't think he's bullshitting, he's saying he's going to go forward and try to knock out Wilder because think about it, if Wilder is coming at you, maybe the hardest puncher ever, and he's coming at you trying to throw, if you back him up, you maybe take some of that power away. Can he punch the same way if he's going backwards as he can coming forward? And Fury feels like he hit him, and if you watch that first fight, he hit him a couple of times, especially early, and, Wilder kind of stood up straight, and, if Fury didn't follow up on it, if he can now follow up on it. So I think that's something to look forward to. And I think in Wilder's case, I think he wants to be more aggressive than he was last time. He was so, he didn't fight within his game plan either. He wanted to get that knockout, so he's just throwing one shot at a time. I think now you'll see him mix up shots and throw more combinations.
Is there a mental edge at all coming out of that fight? I mean, because you got one guy that basically dominated the fight, right? But another guy that said, I essentially knocked you out. So, I mean, does one guy have a mental edge over the other?
I have to think if there is an advantage, it has to be to Fury because he took Wilder's best shots twice and he got up. And especially that last one, he gets hit with a jab, a right hand, and then a crushing left hook. And he's down. And even Mauro Ranallo on the broadcast said, it's over. Deontay Wilder has done it. And, of course, he hadn't done it. There was still some fight to go. And he came back and won the rest of the round. So I think if there is a mental edge, that it would have to go to Tyson Fury.
That's interesting. I guess the stakes, other than the fact that it's a big fight, I mean, is Anthony Joshua, is that what's on the line here?
Well, Anthony Joshua has a fight with Kubrat Pulev. I just did a story, and I said that's what has to happen. Hey, Bob. That's what has to happen next. And Eddie Hearn agrees with that. So, he has a fight with Pulev in late April. The winner of this will probably fight Joshua in the fall. I think that'd be the next, and that would determine who actually is the number one heavyweight in the world.
Nice. Anybody else we should be watching on this card? I mean, we know how boxing builds cards, right? It's all about the main event, but is there anybody that maybe fans that are tuning in for the first time might want to learn about?
I think Navarrete on the undercard is a really good fighter, a Filipino. He's won a lot of big fights. He's a big puncher. He throws in volume. So he should be a guy I would keep an eye out for, Emmanuel Navarrete.
Nice. Last thing I'll ask you, I mean, it's kind of a loaded question, but you mentioned this as a sign of things that come in boxing, whatever. Where do you see the health of it? I mean, I know that's difficult to say. That's a multi-factor question, but when people look at the future of MMA boxing, we always debate it. Where is the health of boxing right now?
I think boxing's in really good shape. I think there's more good boxers now than there have been in a long time. You're getting better athletes coming in. There's more exposure. I mean, you have streaming services. You have, television networks. You have, all sorts of different things. Premium cable networks are still involved. So I think it's in a really good place. And as long as you can see the promoters cooperate like they're doing in this one, it's going to be even better shape. I think if Dana White gets involved in it, Dana White, in my mind, is the best promoter in the world. And if you get him and you have him promote, say, Pacquiao Mayweather 2, which is the rumor that's out there, if Dana White promotes that fight, I think, that it's going to be crazy big. And so I think boxing's in a really good spot. A lot of people are looking forward to getting into it. There's a lot, there's great heavyweights now, not just these two guys, but the division, a lot of really good, legitimate heavyweights. I think that really makes for a good time for boxing.
I said it was the last one. I'm going to ask you one more since you mentioned Dana White. Do you think he'll be accepted here? Is it going to be an outsider? I mean, is Zuffa Boxing going to be able to make an impact?
I think the business people will accept it easily because they see how smart he is and they see what he's done. And he brings those people over and they see the PI and they see what he's built and they go, hey, this is really incredible and, this is a vision that, we would like to have for boxing. I think the fans, where you have that battle there, so they're on the MMA side or they're on the boxing side, that might be more difficult. But, you and I both know Dana is a hardcore boxing fan. I knew Dana long before he was in MMA. He was a boxing guy, and I used to talk to him about boxing all the time. So he loves it. He just feels like it's not done properly. And I think once the boxing fans understand that he's not in here just to rape and pillage, but he really wants to put on good fights, just like he does in MMA, I think they'll come to his side.
All right, that was my brief conversation with Kevin Iole about this. Hopefully, a much better insight on this fight than I can give you. Apologies if the audio wasn't quite up to our MMA Roadshow standards. I mean, I know some people might not care that much, but it bugged me. I was using a piece of equipment that I don't normally use, and I had the settings wrong on it, and it was my fault. And so the audio was just a little bit off right there, which bugs the shit out of me because I'm a perfectionist. But anyway.
It wasn't too bad.
I appreciate that. Kevin, obviously, with the insight there. Again, I think he's, talking about how big this fight is, man. I mean, I think it's going to be a big one. I will say, by the way.
And he's seen some big fights, so if Kevin's saying it's a big fight, it's a big fight.
It's a big fight, man.
Yeah.
I will say this. It was funny. First of all, getting in. So I just got credentialed for the day. I didn't try to go for the fight. I mean, I've got to work this weekend. But I did ask, and I will say thank you to the folks there that did credential me for the day, because obviously I am an MMA reporter, and I told them, I was like, look, I'm not saying I'm going to produce a lot of content, but I want to go get a feel for it, man. And man, it is crazy. Big boxing matches, the number of credentialed media, it is insane. But it was really funny because when I was going to get in, they gave me like a day badge, and so I was wearing this day badge, and when I went to go walk into the venue, security was like, nah, bro, you can't go in with that. And I was like, And it's nobody. It's not like normally there would be people around. They'd be like, nah, he's good. Don't worry, he's good. He's good. Boxing, it was just like, sorry, bro. So I had to go get go get another credential. And fortunately, it was Kevin Iole who was like, dude, just go over there. They'll hook you up. And he took care of me. And Oscar Willis was there from the Mac Live. Thank God, because I was standing in line. We were all rushing in to go set up our tripods, and I ended up filming the face-offs and stuff. And Oscar Willis, fortunately, took my tripod and set it up for me while I went and got the other credentials, so I had space. So shout out to Oscar Willis, our good friend at the Mac Life. He looked out for me. Kevin Iole looked out for me. But it was funny because I had trouble getting in. And in the way that Kevin Iole is respected in the boxing world, I'm not quite on his level in the MMA world, but I got some juice. And normally there's somebody that's like, oh, don't worry, he's good, right this way. And there was nobody to do that for me. It was funny. And then the other thing that was crazy, so Tyson Fury, before the press conference, he actually did a scrum with the media before the press conference. But it was just a nightmare. I mean, it was like
It's a madness.
oh my God! Like
madhouse.
he just walks out on stage and everybody runs up. There's no like we do where there's a mic stand and
Yeah.
everybody grabs their positions. It's
Yep.
literally just people, a swarm of people pushing and
is
shoving each other.
Absolute mayhem.
Chaos, dude.
I absolutely
Chaos.
hate covering boxing for that reason.
I cover boxing from TV. That's enough for me.
Yeah.
I didn't run to the scrum. Like I was set up in the back because I was going to film the press conference. I filmed the press conference. I was going to share a little bit of that audio, but I mean they were literally just kind of going back and forth, and it was
Yeah.
just, it wasn't bad, but it was just literally just yelling back and forth.
Yeah.
You
A
know?
lot of the media, they'll literally will skip that whole setting up and do the other one because they know particularly that like some of these scrums happen.
Yeah.
So they'll stand off to the side with their little gear and they just run
not
up
a
there
bad
to
idea.
get it, and they just skip the other one because they know like half of what they're going to get in the other ones is just as good, if not better. But it is an absolute chaos of just like there is no personal space at that point. It is literally a swarm of bees to honey.
I don't think I could handle it, bro.
It is
I don't
so
think I can handle it.
frustrating.
I love my job as an MMA
And it's funny because
reporter.
you were
If I
like,
was a
you want to cover this? I was like, no, I can't deal with
Nah,
that shit. I can't.
I
deal
know
with
it was
that shit.
funny. I was trying to get Cold Coffee out of the house because he's been cooped up in here recovering from surgery. So I was like, you should come out and do it. And then as soon as it came out of my mouth, I'm like, that was really dumb of me to ask if you want to do that. Like, there's no way you want to go get jumped in this chaos.
No.
I was crazy, but no, it was good to see those guys. Saw Danny Brenner, by the way. Danny Brenner, of course, who handles PR with Bellator as well. He's still moonlights a little bit with boxing. It's good to see him. John Stouffer, who was always a big help to us over at Fox.
Yeah.
He used to be in the MMA game. Now that MMA is UFC is no longer on Fox.
Yeah, they got the
he's in the
Premier
boxing game.
Boxing
So
or whatever,
yeah, it was
PBC.
cool to see him. He was actually the one that helped me get credentialed and all that. So yeah, it was fun, man. To dip my toes into the boxing game for a day was fun. I will not be making
You'll
any
never wanna do
extended
it again.
stays. Yeah, and I will not be making extended stays.
But for this kind of a fight, it is worth it to kind of do it. I think the last time I did one was like a Canelo Alvarez fight,
right?
And before that was like a Pacquiao fight. You know, it is madness, and it's funny because after you cover that, you're always like, I just want to get back to the sane world of MMA where everybody takes care of everybody and everybody's polite. You know, but there are those boxing fights every once in a while where you're just like, oh yeah, let's jump back into the fray.
Too funny, man. We'll see. We got Boxing Junkie. We'll maybe we can help them out with some stuff.
Every once in a while it'll be worth it because we are in the fight capital of the world. Regardless of what others might say, there are always going to be some pretty killer fights here in Vegas.
That's it, man. All right, listen. I will say once again, if you can support us on patreon.com/the MMA Roadshow, that would be awesome. If you're already subscribed or you do sign up, feel free to give us some ideas too. If there's some other stuff you want to hear, maybe we can do it. Our good buddy Joe from H-Town, he's jumping back into the mix. He used to be a supporter, and he's going to do it again now that we got the and a half episodes on there. And he actually gave me a couple ideas for some content that he would like to see. So if there's other stuff you'd like to see or other stuff you'd like to hear, don't be afraid to let us know. If you're supporting the show, man, we would be happy to give it back. So
That's right. If you want to see some more scar pictures, you want some more medical pictures,
other parts of Cold Coffee's body, we'll post them, man.
for enough money, I
You're
will
paying.
post it.
We'll post them. So yeah, we would appreciate that. If you're a long-time listener to the show and you can support us, man, that would mean a lot. In the meantime, let me just say, thanks for listening.